action why killing Kang may complete the Scarlet Witch prophecy. Let's see what the Marvels were to say about this and check this out.
Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, has quickly risen through the ranks as one of the most powerful known Avengers and superheroes in the Marvel Universe to date, with abilities thus far unrivaled by even the likes of Doctor Strange and the Sorcerers of Kamar-Taj. Though she seemingly met her end during the close of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, general fan consensus seems to be that she is not dead, and is almost certain to make her return within the next few years, likely even with her own solo project. This leaves us to wonder, however, about the fate of her prophecy from Multiverse of Madness, and what exactly it might mean for the future character, in addition to how it might relate to none other than Kang the Conqueror, the Kang Dynasty, and Secret War. So, stick with us today, watchers of the Marvel Multiverse, and let's dive into why and how Wanda is fated to either destroy or save all of creation as inscribed on the walls of Mount Wundagore. We know that during the events of Multiverse of Madness, Wanda having her mind twisted by the grip of the Darkhold, warping her perspective and driving her to villainy. But when unhindered by the Darkhold, she has shown no interest in multiversal conquest. Even while under its control, all Wanda wanted was to see her children again, completely abandoning the throne of Wundagore altogether. It's quite clear that the Scarlet Witch doesn't want to rule or destroy anyone, and that she doesn't seem to want anything to do with this prophecy whatsoever, which leads us to believe that when it's ultimately time for her to fulfill her destiny, she will be reluctant to do so, and she will likely only do so out of necessity, even as a hero. If she is forced, it might be because she is the lesser of two evils. If the universe is going to be ruled by either her or someone else, then she might step up because her opponent is far worse than her rule would ever prove to be. As to who this opposing threat might be, however, the primary candidate is Kang the Conqueror, who is slated to overpower the Avengers during the Kang Dynasty, according to several leaks and alleged plot allegations for Avengers 5 and 6. We propose a timeline that goes roughly as follows. During the Kang Dynasty, Kang proves himself to be too much of a threat for the heroes of Earth 616, as he conquers their reality as well as several neighboring timelines by the time the Kang Dynasty concludes. This ending was first proposed and allegedly leaked by Daniel RPK, who has a firm reputation as a reliable leaker, and though the details of this conquest are currently unclear, it seems to be the general idea of how Kang Dynasty will conclude. Then, in Secret Wars, the Avengers are said to move into the multiverse in search of aid, gathering heroes from across several timelines in order to aid in their liberation, finally putting an end to Kang and his rule once and for all. If the end of Secret Wars puts Wanda in a position where she is either to choose whether or not to usurp Kang and establish her own dominion, then she might fulfill the prophecy simply because Kang cannot be allowed to continue his rule. This would also explain how the prophecy came to be in the first place, and would help to clear up some discrepancies with the prophecy itself between what we know about Wundagore and the Darkhold. But what exactly would this clear up? Well, the prophecy originally comes from the Temple of Wundagore, which was the former home to the demon known as Kuthon, who first wrote the Darkhold. Kuthon is one of the preeminent masters of chaos magic and dark energy as one of the eldest gods on Earth, which explains why the Darkhold was created in the first place, but it doesn't explain the prophecy revolving around the Scarlet Witch. After all, the prophecy wasn't actually written in the Darkhold itself, as Wanda read through the book and had no knowledge until she made it onto Wundagore, realizing that it was a throne. So what if there's more to this than we are previously led to believe? Wong states that the Darkhold was a copy, and was initially written down by transcribing spells engraved on the walls of this temple, which proves that there were human disciples present at the temple after Kuthon left his spells behind. Might it be possible that the prophecy wasn't inscribed because it was foretold, but because it was instead witnessed? And this explains why it didn't end up in the pages of the Darkhold. We know that the original temple was the home to Kuthon's acolytes thanks to the aforementioned spells being copied, even though Kuthon himself had long vacated the area. Could it be possible that these disciples, who populated the temple, actually witnessed the final showdown between Wanda and Kang, and they retold the story of the Scarlet Witch until it was ingrained in their very histories? If Wanda and Kang do battle in front of these acolytes, then they might have created the myth of the Scarlet Witch, but they chose not to add it to the Darkhold because it was already complete. From here, they may have known that one day, the fabled Scarlet Witch would one day return to claim the throne that they began building for her. They would have also likely recognized the signatures of chaos magic, as Kuthon is one of the most prominent practitioners of the form that we know of in all of the universe. They could then attribute this to the nature of the temple, and believe that the next most powerful acolyte of chaos magic was set to inevitably return. But how does this make sense timeline-wise? It's not impossible to surmise that either the final showdown or even a smaller fight between Kang and Wanda might take place in the past. The Avengers will presumably time travel several times throughout the course of the next few years, and one battle between Wanda and Kang might take place at Mount Wundagore, and at some point in the very distant past. It's also important to mention that it doesn't even have to be the final battle, as this story could have been blown out of proportion after centuries of retellings. This way, in the 21st century when the events of the Multiverse of Madness take place, the temple has already been constructed with the throne of the Scarlet Witch in place, allowing the time stream to come full circle despite the fact that nobody should have known that Wanda would exist one day, and it's only due to this prophecy in this past and a likely battle between Wanda and Kang that it took place. Many fans have theorized that Wanda Maximoff is one of the only Avengers or people in the Marvel Universe capable of destroying and combating Kang, and it's completely possible that only by destroying Kang and taking over the universe in her own right does she not only fulfill the prophecy of the Scarlet Witch, but she also eradicates Kang once and for all, bringing an end to the multiversal saga and the Great Conqueror. It's also, of course, completely possible that they'll be saving this storyline for another day, where they may make the Scarlet Witch the main antagonist of the entire universe, or they could be saving the storyline for the House of M saga if they ever choose to depict that on the big screen. But anyway, my friends and acolytes, what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on this theory? And do you think that it will ultimately be Wanda and the Scarlet Witch that brings an end to Kang? And does Kang the Conqueror play into this prophecy at all? As always, my friends, hit that subscribe button to assemble and join our team, and I hope that you have a great day.
Oh yeah, please subscribe, like this video, and see you guys. Bye. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. See you guys. Bye.